Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking the video out today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into these topics, do me a favor, if you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like, helps the videos out more than you know. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here talking about GTA 6, more specifically Take2 Interactive letting us know whether or not the recent GTA 6 leaks are actually going to impact future releases or development in general. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says Rockstar Games' parent company has reiterated that recent leaks have no bearing on GTA 6's release date and development. CEO Strauss Zelnick expressed his disappointment over the leaks, but denied reports that any significant assets were stolen. Previous rumors suggested that the hacker, a teenager arrested in the UK, stole GTA 5 and 6 source codes and attempted to sell them before being taken into custody by the local police in cooperation with the FBI. Rockstar Games is usually pretty good at keeping things under wraps, but reports suggest that GTA 6 is still a couple of years away from release. If that is true, don't expect the developer to announce a release date or even a window anytime soon. Nevertheless, it's good to know that the leak hasn't hurt development. So I wanted to just let you guys know about this because it was a pretty big thing that went down with the GTA 6 leaks, and there were reports that apparently it was going to kind of get in the way of development or potentially delay the game, potentially make it so that Rockstar has to kind of start certain things over from scratch or something like that. So, we're hearing from the CEO of Take2 Interactive that it's okay. Nothing like that has happened, and the release date and development are still on track. So good news, I'd say, for GTA 6. Next up, we're talking about Kojima Productions, specifically the announcement that Death Stranding is celebrating 10 million players. And this is on the game's 3rd anniversary. Reading from Push Square, it says Kojima Productions has announced an impressive milestone on the 3rd anniversary of the release of Death Stranding, which, along with Death Stranding Director's Cut, has seen 10 million players step into the battered boots of protagonist Sam Porter Bridges. Death Stranding was first launched on PS4 on November 8th, 2019, and made its way to PC on July 14th, 2020. The enhanced Director's Cut got a native PS5 port, which came to the platform on September 24th, 2021, and this version too came to PC earlier this year on March 30th, 2022. It's worth noting that the 10 million number takes into account players able to access the game as part of subscription services like PlayStation Plus and PC Game Pass, which, not to take anything away from the achievement, is likely a significant number. With such a strong reception, a sequel seems inevitable, and speculation has hit a fever pitch in recent days. It's especially impressive when you consider the nature of the game, a post-apocalyptic delivery simulator with a mechanical focus on simply walking, an act that most gamers take entirely for granted. So yeah, this was something I definitely wanted to be sure to mention because, we know that Death Stranding sold pretty well overall, but now we know that it's hit a new milestone since it's been made available through PlayStation Plus and even Game Pass on PC. And I have to agree with what the article is saying here. It is very impressive because Death Stranding is not like really any other game out there. I know people kind of make fun of it a little bit because it's like, oh, it's a delivery simulator. And it's like, yeah, it really is. But I feel like anybody who's taken time to play Death Stranding, that there's more to it than that. And there's just something about it that it just works. It really does. I don't know how Kojima was able to pull this off, but he was. And there you go. I'll definitely be interested to see if we're going to get the announcement of Death Stranding 2 sometime soon. Moving on to the next topic, though, and this one is certainly interesting. Sony might be making a Horizon MMO, and it could come to phones. This is being reported by Push Square. There is strong speculation coming out of Korea that Sony has signed a deal with developer NCSoft to create an MMO adaptation of its best-selling Horizon franchise. The studio is best known for uber-popular releases like Lineage and Guild Wars, which are big in Asia, although a report by local publication MTN claims that the company is gunning for global success here. Judging by the wording in the report, it sounds like the ink is still a little wet on this deal, so if accurate, it'll still be in the very early stages of development. Interestingly though, PlayStation has been hiring for a Korean translator, with the job location listed as Amsterdam. Horizon creator Guerrilla Games is of course based in the Dutch capital, so this does add weight to the report. Even more fascinating is that alongside that translator role, Sony has a handful of Amsterdam-based producer roles for an upcoming mobile game project. Given the expertise of NCSoft and PlayStation's decision to develop more mobile games, we wouldn't be surprised if this title turned out to be targeting smartphones, a little like Genshin Impact perhaps. In fact, speaking with Famitsu fairly recently, PlayStation Studios boss Herman Hulst said, quote, "We believe that developing titles that are suitable for mobile and realizing crossplay between console and mobile is also an important initiative," end quote. So it's possible that this Horizon MMO could launch on a variety of platforms, including mobile, PlayStation, and PC. We'll obviously contact Sony and try to get some clarification on what exactly is going on here, but this could be a potentially fascinating expansion of the Horizon universe. Is it something you would be interested in though? Remember, there are separate rumors of an online-focused live service Horizon spin-off game from Guerrilla. Whether it's connected to this purported NCSoft partnership is unclear. And so this is very interesting because something we can safely say at this point is that we are going to be getting some type of multiplayer live service Horizon experience. And it is true that we did hear rumors that this was the second big project that Guerrilla Games has been working on. And if I had to guess, I do think these things are connected. I don't know that it would make much sense for Sony to release a dedicated multiplayer live service Horizon game on console and then a completely separate one for mobile with a different developer. I think that what we might see here is a joint effort between Guerrilla and NCSoft, and it makes sense that Sony would try to court a developer like NCSoft considering their success with MMOs. And I have to say, this sounds really interesting to me. I would certainly be interested to see what a MMO based in the Horizon universe would end up looking like and playing like, and what that experience would be like. As the article points out, Herman Hulst did recently hint at something like this coming very soon. The fact that they want to have these titles that are available on console, on PC, and on mobile with crossplay. And that's something we're seeing more and more these days with live service games. And it works out really well for the, I guess you could say, good live service games, the ones that people end up really kind of flocking to. So we'll have to see if we end up getting more information on this. I have to say that it's going to be very interesting to see Sony rolling out the announcements of some of these titles and, to see what they end up looking like. My hope with something like this is that it still remains very high quality. I would definitely be disappointed if, in order to get this to be a mobile title as well, they have to really end up changing the art style or just, too many things about the Horizon games that we've come to expect in order to make it work. Hopefully it's nothing like that. But yeah, I will be sure to keep you guys updated with this. Let me know your thoughts about it down below. Next up, we're talking a little bit more about God of War Ragnarok. First off, the day one patch notes have been released, and I'm not going to go over all of the details because there's just simply too much to go over. There are over 180 fixes regarding things like dialogue, cinematics, quests and progression, gameplay, combat, and it goes on and on. Equipment and upgrades, UI/UX, stability and performance, visual impact, audio, accessibility, localization, PS5 specific and PS4 specific. So I'm going to have this article linked down below for you to click on it. Check it out. They have every single fix listed here. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. I also want to take a moment to talk about a visual comparison that has been done. Reading from WCCF Tech, it says a new God of War Ragnarok comparison video has been shared online, highlighting the visual, lighting, and physics improvements over the original and more. The video, which has been put together by El Analista de Bits, highlights how much the 9 Realms look and feel better than the previous entry in the series. Everything from the already mentioned visuals, lighting, and physics to animations and textures are a considerable step up. So this is something that I also wanted to kind of refer you guys to. I am going to have this video linked down below. I think it's worth checking out because I think that this is something that will go a long way in kind of showing how much more went into God of War Ragnarok. A lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but some people were under the impression when they first saw this game and found out that we would be, going to a lot of the same areas. They thought it was just a big copy and paste job. And obviously we all knew that that's not what this was. It was certainly going to be more than that, but it's kind of cool to finally see it compared, how does Ragnarok hold up against God of War 2018? What has changed? What's been more refined? And to just kind of have that pointed out in a much more detailed way. It's very cool. So again, I'll have this link down below. But we're moving on to the final topic, which talks about a PlayStation 5 Slim releasing in Q3 of 2023. We have a potential leak here coming from theleak.com. And they say the bulky PlayStation 5 is finally getting redesigned. There's been talk, especially hope, for a lighter and slimmer version of the PlayStation 5 since its launch. According to our source, it is indeed getting a smaller redesigned version next year, but it might not be referred to as slim. There's a reason why the PS5 is bulky. The CPU, RAM, and SSD controller require a lot of space. There have been minor upgrades like the one earlier this year, including shrinking the console, but not enough to change the encasement. This upcoming version has a new design with a significant change to its exterior. Our source claims that this new slim version uses a die shrink treatment that reduces the size of the console enough to validate a new design by Sony. It uses less voltage and therefore runs cooler. It's also more lightweight because of it. Previous DIY projects proved that the console could be reduced in proportions. However, the power supply size has to be increased and will require water cooling, so it's not a consumer-friendly solution. Our source has additional information. Sony is also working on not having a stand when the console lies down. This change might indicate that the aesthetics-only flap could be modified or removed. This focus for the company is to reduce the PS5 size and wait to bring down shipping and production costs. However, the Japanese tech giant can also market and boast about the smaller revamped design. We haven't seen any designs yet, and the release date is far off. The production is set to start in Q2 with a retail release in Q3, but early leaks like this and dates tend to change. The leak itself does make sense as a redesign has been expected. If the new version also cuts costs for Sony, then a new version is a no-brainer. And so this is essentially the second report we're hearing that Sony's working on what's being referred to as a PS5 Slim. But what's interesting about this report is it doesn't say anything about a detachable disk drive. However, it does note that apparently this PS5 is not going to be necessarily called the PS5 Slim. It sounds like it's just going to be a complete design overhaul, which I guess if you think about it, that's kind of what every previous Slim console ends up being. So who knows, maybe they'll just come out and say this is the newly designed PS5, and maybe they're just not going to call it the Slim, they're just going to call it the PS5, right? And that's the only version you're going to be able to get. But what's also very interesting about this leak in particular to me is that according to their sources, this is going to be a complete design change. Like the exterior is going to change completely. It's not going to ship with a stand. And so you really do have to begin to wonder, like, are we going to see Sony with the next iteration of the PS5 kind of go back to their more traditional console design? I think it was quite a shock for many. I mean, it was a shock for me when we first saw the PS5. It just looks so dramatically different from anything that PlayStation has done before with their consoles. I mean, all the way from the PS1 to the PS4, there's been a kind of shared design philosophy to some extent, right? And most of the consoles were also all black. This time, Sony was just like, not only is the console going to look way different, but we're going with a two-tone color here. And I just can't help but wonder, how much different is this newly redesigned PS5 going to be compared to the PS5 that we see today? Certainly very interesting, and something we have to take with a grain of salt here. I'm sure that as we get closer to Q3 2023, we're going to start to hear a lot more about what's going on with this new PS5 Slim, or whatever you want to call it. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Leave it a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.